Hi everybody, my name's Matt. Working at the Healthy Butcher. We're going to talk about oyster shucking today. First things first, let's talk about freshness. The best way to know if an oyster is fresh, you're going to see that the shell is clamped down really tight. If you give it a good tap, it should sound really solid. If by any means it sounds hollow, then you know that your oyster is going to be losing its liquid and it's on its way to being no good anymore. The second way you can tell with freshness is by opening your oyster. If you notice a really strong sulfuric smell kind of coming from it, then you know as well right away that the oyster is no good. As far as the anatomy of an oyster, it's pretty simple. You have your top shell, which is nice and flat. This is the part of the shell that opens up and closes as the oyster feeds. And then you have the bottom half of the shell, which we also call the cup. And this is where the oyster meat generally sits. Has a really beautiful amount of liquor in there, and it's just, that's the cup that you'd be sucking your oyster back with. As far as shucking the oysters, we have a few different methods you can use. You can take a much thinner kind of paring knife, and you can go from the front and open it up that way. My personal preference is to shuck from the back end where the hinge is. I feel you just have a little bit more stability, you keep your hands out of the way, and you don't risk cutting your hands open with a paring knife. Oyster shuckers, there's a few different styles you can get. Some are longer, some are shorter, some are fatter, and some are wider. But this is just a standard oyster knife that we sell here at the shop for $5. Totally solid, nice and stiff, not going to go wrong. Now, we're going to shuck an oyster. So my preferred method is just to use a towel. Some people like to use gloves, some people like to use a wooden board or a mat, but my personal preference is just simply a towel. No fuss, no muss. So first you do is you fold your towel over the top shell of your oyster. Just keep your hinge nice and exposed. Tilt it up just a slight amount, that way you can kind of dig your oyster knife into it. So first you take your oyster knife to the hinge, slowly work it until it's in there and it's not going to come out. Takes a little bit of elbow grease, but totally worth your time. So once your oyster's in, see a little bit of the shell, just give it a good turn and a pop. Okay, wipe your knife off so you don't get any shell inside. And then from there, I like to turn my oyster, come in with the knife, kind of ride all the way along the top shell till you get down to the bottom. And from here, you just kind of turn and just pop it right off. This way you end up with a very clean top shell, nothing left on the bottom, and you end up with an oyster that looks like it hasn't been touched at all. Really nice and clean, no shell in there, full of that beautiful liquor, as you can see. Liquor is the most important part when eating an oyster. It is part of the whole experience of eating an oyster. So once you have your top off, what we're going to do is just take the edge of your knife, going to slide it underneath and just disconnect it from the bottom shell. Okay, and then you'll take your oyster, put it onto your bed of ice, and it's ready to go. Alright, so I'm going to show you one more oyster, just so you feel confident about it. So, you're going to start off right in the middle of your towel, fold it over just to keep your hands protected, tilt it up slightly, just so you can have a better angle to get to that hinge, and then you're just going to work it in until it kind of stays. This part does take a little bit of elbow grease, but again, this is how we get strong. So just pop it open, turn it towards you, take your knife and slide it all the way down towards the cup. Take your top shell, and then here once again you see we have a beautifully clean oyster, no shell in there at all, full of liquor, and then you're going to take your knife, slide it under the foot of the oyster, and place it on your bed, ready to go. Alright guys, so that's everything you need to know about shucking fresh oysters. It's always best to shuck oysters yourself and eat them as fresh as possible, because once you buy them from our store, you can keep them in your fridge, just in a bowl with a damp cloth, for up to a week. If we shuck them for you, you have a few hours to enjoy them. They're going to be amazing no matter what, but it really does pay to learn to do it yourself. And honestly, oysters are super affordable and inexpensive. Depending where they come from, you may pay, say, $1.50 to $3 a piece. And that's everything that I really have to say. Thanks a lot for watching. See you soon.